Breaking news: Trump just said that he might be levying more taxes and tariffs on China, which has sent the market and my account into the depths. But that's okay. We're going to talk about it a little bit. In addition to that, he's also putting out mass firings, just announced that after the 10th day of the government shutdown. So we are going to talk about that. But the overarching topic that I really want to get into today is just the falling of the American system, or failing of the American system. Now, I know this has been a common like talking point that I feel like a lot of people has been talking about the American dream kind of dying and what does that look like. But I feel like most of that has just been in a monetary sense, but not necessarily like culture sense. So I do want to break into that. And the first, I guess I'll start with an anecdote. One of my friends, me and my friends are talking about this, talking about ICE in general, because ICE has just been prevalent within multiple major cities. It's been a thing that a lot of families have been affected, especially Hispanic families have been affected. And one of my friends was telling me about how one of her family members have been deported, and it got to a point where the family was just talking about like whether, usually we know when a family member gets deported, it's like, all right, the idea is to get right back, like get back to America so you can provide for the family back at home. But at this point, it's like some families are just debating whether or not that's even important anymore. Getting back to provide, getting to that opportunity. Maybe that opportunity is gone. And some people be like, oh, well, it's illegal immigrants, so why does that matter? Well, that matters because the whole world is watching. And the whole world, some of the world, Britain, France, are following to, white nationalism is rising everywhere. But the reason that this is a problem is because as America's main pathways to its dominance was its cultural power. You had the military, the economy, and its cultural prowess. So when people around the world want to buy American products, think that American products are top tier, the music, buying into the music, buying into the music, buying into the cultural production of America. When that starts to wane, I don't think people realize how much of a monetary value is attached to that. That is a huge reason as to why America is where it's at today, is because of cultural production. Right? And not only is the economy waning, right? Job numbers are in the trash. We're going to talk about that as well. Job numbers are terrible. Military is waning, not necessarily within power, right? But if the military is being utilized on, the constituents or citizens, that is a problem. And now as cultural production is waning in other people's eyes, not just within America, but also within immigrants' eyes, when those three things are waning, the American dream begins to die. And that is where we're at today. The American dream is beginning to die, and now everybody thinks, oh, we're just going to rid all these illegal immigrants out, which is affecting economy, right? Which is why the illegal immigrants that's coming within farmers on farmland and stuff like that, he had to stop doing that, had to stop deportations there because you can't. But now it's being instituted within cities. And yet, this is where our tax dollars go to. We've already said, and people have already said, that mass deportations cost a lot. Cost a lot. And I thought that the idea was to drain the swamp and we're going to fix a lot of this debt issue, but this debt issue is not getting fixed. All that's happening right now is that we're seeing military presence continue to rise. The economy is dampening, getting worse as we're seeing job cuts go up and job numbers go down. Where are our priorities at this moment? I would want my priorities fixed when it came to the economy. I want people to have the most jobs that they can have. It should be a employee market, but right now is an employer market, and there is no direction. All right. Going a little bit more into Chicago, Trump said on Monday that he would consider using the Insurrection Act, if federal courts prevented him from deploying the National Guard to conduct law enforcement missions and protect federal buildings, which Portland and other federal judges have blocked. the Insurrection Act, the only difference between the Insurrection Act and what they're doing now, right now, is that he's able to use active duty military personnel on citizens. But he's already doing what? Off guard duty military personnel? That line of ICE agents are detaining elected officials, tear gassing protesters, children, and Chicago police officers, and abusing Chicago residents is substantiated. I looked it up. Got some articles in the description for y'all below. When military personnel are able to go into cities, are able to tear gas citizens, fly helicopters around, zip tie U.S. citizens. Keep that in mind. But even on a moral issue, I don't think anybody should be having that done. But when it's done to U.S. citizens as well, that's an infringement of rights. There are no checks and balances right here. There are no checks and balances. And when I talk about the fall of an American system, I'm talking about parties that's not willing to give a little. Everybody wants to be a hard ass. I feel like that's the move of this administration, right? It's the idea that we need to be a hard ass. Everybody gotta be tough. No. It's like Pete Hex said that at that Quantico conference or whatever. Him yelling at everybody, right? Like everything needs to be hard, tough, bootstrapped, figure it out. Stop being a soy boy. No DEI, all that stuff. No government assistance, whatever. This type of hard ass mentality is not rooted in conflict resolution ever. It's always going to be a game of chicken. Who's going to bend first? And typically, when it's from this administration, whoever's on the other receiving end is going to bend. My fear when it comes to Chicago and when it comes to cities, if this continues to happen, where military personnel is now surveying the city, zip tying citizens, this is real. My fear is that we don't have a state that's prepared to have conflict resolution in the event of something bad happens. And if we don't have a state that's prepared for conflict resolution in an event as something bad happens, and we have a people that's growing angry with the state apparatus in addition to economic conditions putting them people into impoverished situations, we know what a survival instinct does. It causes people to commit crime. I don't know if y'all hearing me. We have a state apparatus that does not want to do conflict resolution ever, but wants to continue to do bully ball and play chicken with the other person or with the other party. And now this other party right here is getting angrier and angrier. What happens if both parties chooses not to give up? Do you see what I'm saying? What happens if people, I'm talking about the people, American people, get so angry enough in which they don't care about backing down, and we have a state apparatus that has shown us time and time again that they don't care about ramping up military personnel and backing down. Okay, so we have two parties right here that are both willing to go into anarchy. Both willing to go into anarchy. That's what I mean by a civil war. That's not me fear-mongering. That's me saying in the event of something bad happens, which right now, I mean, that's where we're at. That is where we're at, right? Like, Chicago's had gotten so bad to a point where it's like, if something bad were to happen, it wouldn't be that surprising. But we don't have a state that's willing or is understanding enough to be able to handle a situation like that. How do I know that? Because of Charlie Kirk's passing. That wasn't handled in the right way. All that was handled in that from the state was, oh, look at the left-wing extremists. Y'all are doing the exact same thing that left wing has done to right wing extremists. No conflict resolution. Cast them aside. Okay, there's people getting angry, and I'm not one of those people in that moment. But I'm saying right now, I'm fearful that both parties don't have no conflict resolution. I'm not talking about parties like Democrats and Republicans. I'm talking about the people and the state. We're reaching times right now where tensions are at an all-time high, and we don't have any checks or balances to bring those tensions down. We don't have a president that cares to bring those tensions down. We don't have an administration, which I mean the VP and all the secretaries of those departments, to bring that down. We don't even have oligarchs like Elon or Mark or whatever trying to bring it down. So the only thing that I can come to as a conclusion as a forward thinker is that they're prepared. They're prepared and or they want something like this to happen. Because if not, then you would be doing everything to go the opposite way. And I'm not talking about, like, I understand, politicians, you don't want to have to back down. I don't know, ideally. You don't want to have to back down. But it's the same thing of like a parent in a child situation. A parent has to be a parent at some point. Your child could be doing the worst thing in the world. The worst things in the world to you as a parent. As a parent, you still have to take it. Because that's a job you signed up for as a parent. When it comes to the state, that's the state's job. The people could be wanting anarchy 10 times over, but the state needs to have some type of conflict resolution, or it's not going to work. I hope y'all hear what I'm saying, because I really wanted that to get across. The example that I wanted to give was and I'm not supporting or condoning this. This is just an example, because at this point, we're not that far away from it. Let's say during a protest, God forbid, a protester goes, or a random rogue protester goes and shoots an ICE officer. How do you think the state will react to that? I'm giving y'all a second. How do you think the state will react to something like that? Will it A, ramp up military personnel? Will it B, go on news networks and say, hey, as an American population, to be honest, I think we've gone and gotten too far. This is bad. This is not something that we should be doing as a population. To be honest, we need unity. Probably need a unity concert and need to be doing a bunch of other fundraisers and more holidays to be able to bring this back in. Or 3, or C, will they just go on different news networks and ramp it back up and say, look at these left-wing extremists, This is the problem with this country. Democrats, Republicans. Probably a combination of A and C, right? And that's what I mean by we don't have a state that is prepared for conflict resolution. We have a state that wants to ramp up anarchy. About the economy, right? But as we're talking about the economy is so bad, the stock market's doing amazing. Why is that? Why is the economy doing so bad, but my stock account is doing amazing? It's convoluted. So it's, let me talk about that a little bit too, because I saw it. Shout out to, I think Ian spoke about it, but the convergence between how people that are making over $100,000 are probably doing significantly well, and the people that are making under $100,000 are probably feeling the most impoverished and are feeling that recessionary times. But the people over 100,000 are probably loving this right now. Over 400,000, you just got tax cuts. And in addition to that, the stock market has been running for years. It's been running for years. So you've been profiting all throughout this. Right now, when it comes to job cuts, they're at year-to-date highs. Since 2020. Record highs since 2020. That means it's progressively getting worse. The unemployment rates are rising. Black women's unemployment rate, I think, hit 7%. 7.3%. That's not okay. That's crazy. Job cuts, I was looking at the job cuts. There'll be a video in the description that talks about the economy and what's going on within the job numbers, because the job numbers are insane right now. Most of the job cuts that are coming down from Doge. Right? Now we've been new this. We've been new this 2 years ago when we were talking about Doge, or a year ago when we were talking about Doge and about how Doge is going to proportionally affect more minority communities, because when you cut federal jobs, a lot of that is going to be minority jobs. Those are the only jobs that we're able to get access to, because private jobs, you need some nepotism, you need to find a way to get in. And especially with them rolling DEI back, of course it's going to affect the black woman unemployment rate. $2.6 trillion worth of tax cuts being aided to the rich, and that's being paid for exactly $2.6 trillion through cutting Medicaid and insurance for Americans. Think about that. What's being held up right now, and the reason why the government is shut down, the reason why military families are not getting paid and politician families aren't getting paid and workers are furloughed off right now, is because Democrats are saying, hey, take out that line where you said that we're going to cut millions of Americans' insurance, and all these premiums are going to go up, skyrocket through the roof for millions of Americans, and then we'll be able to support the bill and end the shutdown. Republicans are saying no. They're calling it a democratic shutdown. A democratic shutdown. Now, with that, Trump was saying, if y'all were to hold this government up, this shutdown up, meaning military families are not going to get paid, furlough workers, etc., we're going to do more firings federally to those furloughed workers. And now it just reached the 10th day of shutdown, and now he's threatening that. And holding furloughed workers' heads over Democrats to make them sign a bill, so they don't, to make them sign a bill negating all the millions of Americans that they want insured, so y'all can go pay for tax cuts. Yeah, there's not a lot of humanity left. There's not. And I personally have a huge problem with that. But it just aids what I'm talking about the American system failing. You can't take care of your own people. You literally can't take care of your own people. People are losing confidence in the economy of America. And at the same time that we're losing confidence in the economy of America, we look to do $2.6 trillion within tax cuts for workers, people that are getting paid over $400,000. And then we're sending more money to Israel. We're going to build this up. This is going to be Trump land over here, Larry Ellison land over here, data center stuff. And then over here, Elon Musk land. Like, this is lack of humanity and a joke to a lot of people. And to me, it's effed up. I want us to go further as a nation. Listen, we got a lot of things to worry about. Almost too much things to worry about right now. So why are we worried about getting illegal immigrants that add to our GDP and add to our tax dollars, that don't take from our tax dollars? They do not take from social services. They uplift multiple industries, especially the farming industry. Why focus our energy on that when we have $36 trillion, or not 36, is it that? We are X amount of dollars in debt and continue to add to it. I thought the goal from this administration was to rid the debt, and we're continuously adding to it by just alienating people and blaming them for the problems that the last 30 years politicians haven't been able to fix. But yet they get to blame this, blame left, blame right, blame whatever. They get to get rich. I've seen the stock accounts for a bunch of them. We've seen Nancy Pelosi's stock account. I can assume what Trump made off of that meme coin rug pull. I don't think y'all, we're being run by a whole group of sellouts, willing to do a bunch of different things to be able to get their point across or their agenda across. When I mean agenda, I'm just talking about their rocks, their money. But there's millions of Americans about to be uninsured. Or there's going to be thousands of jobs, thousands of workers fired. Either one. Either thousands of workers fired or millions of Americans uninsured because they want to shut down the government because they will not give them one. The game of chicken. That's the American system. That's where we're at, contemporary modern society. America is just a game of chicken. Who's going to back down first? And the state has been winning 100 to 1. 100 to 1. DC first, Chicago next. What's now? New York? That's what I'm saying. And I hope y'all hearing me. I hope y'all are hearing me. Listen. If you're rocking with some of the stuff that I'm saying right now, I'm not trying to be fear-mongering. If you're rocking with the stuff I'm saying right now, go ahead and leave a comment. Leave a comment, say, yo. Or if you think I'm off base. If you think I'm off base, you listen this far, you think I'm off base, go ahead and leave a comment. But maybe I'm off. I'm just trying to read and digest all the stuff that I'm seeing. Why am I seeing stocks hit all-time highs? Not even just AI stocks. Stocks hit all-time highs right now while the economy is in the depths. That's called rinsing money. Rinsing money over here. They're rinsing money over here. Nobody knows unless you're invested, which I'm trying to tell people, get invested. Rinsing money over here while everybody else's money supply just depletes. Rinsing, depleting. Rinsing, depleting. That is a scary world to live in. That's a scary world to live in. So listen, we in business snapshot right now. Little moment. As I told y'all, stocks right now just hit a huge red turn today. Why? Because Trump loves to tweet a bunch of crazy stuff. He said that he's going to put some more tariffs on China. That's probably not going to happen, in my opinion. Just looking at what I'm going to have. Like, he might put something, lower it down, slash it down like he did with Japan, like he did with every other country when it comes to tariffs. He's going to say something crazy, then he's going to bring it back down because no country is going to agree to that. And he needs to figure that out. With this economic downturn, or not, with this market downturn that we're seeing, I think market sold off around like 3 to 5% today, or like 2 to 5%. Might be an entry point. Typically, there's a Christmas rally. I spoke about this last episode. Typically, there's a Christmas rally. So you might want to get in prior to that Christmas rally. Typically, in September sell-offs. We didn't get too much of a September sell-off, so it might happen in October. It's happened before. So you might want to get in. Now, listen. Something that I'm just looking at. That's pretty cool. Something that I'm just looking at. Jerome Powell is leaving or is coming out of office in January. The idea is that Trump is going to be able to appoint somebody to that position. The idea is that his son-in-law or something like that, Jared Kushner, I think, is going to take that position. Jerome Powell was pretty good when it came to monetary policy. He didn't care what Trump was saying. He didn't care. The Fed is supposed to be independent from the state. When that state and the Fed becomes one, we may be in some hot trouble. Okay? Interest rates will come down a lot faster probably. And we don't want that type of trouble for our economy. It could send us into a recession. Or it might be able to avoid a recession. And it might just come years later. Nobody knows.